The sizzle of oil on a hot griddle was the soundtrack to Vivian's life. She expertly flipped a row of savory pancakes, the fragrant steam a stark contrast to the bitter anxiety churning in her gut. Every pancake sold was another drop in the vast, intimidating ocean that was Nina's medical fund. Her daughter's small, fragile heart couldn't wait forever. Beside the stall, her 5-year-old twin sons, Murphy and Leo, were stacking empty styrofoam cups into a teetering tower. "Mommy, when we earn lots and lots of money," Leo, the more contemplative twin, began, his brow furrowed in concentration, "can we find Daddy?" Murphy, ever the protector, nodded fiercely. "He'll help us. He must be super rich." Vivian's hand faltered. A ghost of a memory, a luxurious hotel suite, a stranger's intense gaze. A night of desperate, forgotten passion 5 years ago flickered and died. She forced a tired smile. "We don't need anyone else, my little men. We just need us." Just then, a commotion broke out nearby. An elderly woman, dressed in simple, well-worn clothes, stumbled over an uneven paving stone, her bag of groceries scattering across the sidewalk. Without a second thought, Vivian rushed from behind her stool. "Are you all right, ma'am?" she asked, helping the woman to her feet and gathering the runaway oranges. The woman, leaning heavily on Vivian's arm, beamed a grateful smile. It was Lara Fuller, matriarch of the Fuller dynasty, indulging in one of her incognito strolls through the city she loved. The air in Sean Fuller's penthouse office was a sterile, climate-controlled silence, broken only by the whisper of his pen across a contract. Then the heavy oak doors opened without a knock. Sean looked up, his brow furrowing at the sight of his assistant looking flustered, followed by a small boy who carried himself with the gravity of a seasoned diplomat. The child, no older than 5, had Sean's sharp jawline and an unnerving, direct gaze. Murphy stopped precisely 3 feet from the mahogany desk. "My name is Murphy," he announced, his voice clear and steady. "You are my father. I request a DNA test to formalize our relation." Sean's pen froze mid-signature. Of all the corporate ambushes he'd anticipated, this was not one. He stared at the boy, a ghost of a memory-worn skin, the scent of lavender, a night shrouded in fog flickering at the edge of his mind. Before he could process the claim, Murphy's composure cracked, a sliver of childish panic replacing the stoicism. "And my mummy is downstairs. A bad woman is bullying her." The words hit Sean like a physical blow. "Mummy." He was on his feet before the thought fully formed, striding past the bewildered boy and his gaping assistant. Something primal and protective surged through him. Downstairs, the polished marble lobby of Fuller Group had devolved into a cruel theater. Yanni, her designer suit a sharp weapon of its own, circled Vivian like a predator. Her voice, usually dripping with honeyed professionalism, was now laced with pure acid, loud enough for the gathering crowd of employees to hear every syllable. "A pancake vendor," Yanni scoffed, her laugh sharp and brittle. "You thought you could waltz in here, smelling of grease and desperation, and what? Claim some connection to Sean Fuller, an uneducated street vendor like you doesn't belong in his world." Vivian stood her ground, her arms protectively around her 2 other children, Nina and Nathan, her face pale but her spine rigid. "I'm here on business, Yanni. This has nothing to do with you." "Oh, but it does," Yanni sneered, her eyes glittering with malice as they fell upon the children. "Always dragging these accessories around. Tell me, Vivian, who is their father? Or is that too complicated a question? With how you are, it must be hard to keep track. It's a tragedy, really. Such a beautiful little girl, but utterly fatherless." The word fatherless struck Nina like a stone. The little girl, already frail from her heart condition, looked up at her mother, her wide, innocent eyes filling with tears. She had spent her whole life dreaming of a father. To hear him dismissed, To hear her mother so cruelly shamed was more than her fragile body could bear. A breath hitched, a tiny, choked sob escaped her lips before her eyes rolled back and she crumpled to the floor. Nina! Vivian's scream tore through the lobby's hushed whispers. It was this scene of pure chaos that greeted Sean as the elevator doors slid open. His gaze swept past the gawking employees, past a venomous-looking Yanni, and locked onto the woman on the floor, cradling a child who looked terrifyingly still. A profound, inexplicable ache seized his chest. He didn't know these people, yet the sight of the woman's despair and the child's pale face felt like a personal wound. Yanni rushed to his side, her expression instantly shifting to one of concerned control. Sean, thank goodness. I was just dealing with some troublemakers. This woman forced her way in. Out of the way. The imperious command didn't come from Sean, but from the elegant matriarch of the Fuller family, who had just arrived. Grandma Fuller, seeing the scene, marched forward, a cane thumping against the marble. She glared at Yanni with undisguised fury. Are you blind? The child has collapsed. Sean, for heaven's sake, help them. As Sean moved, drawn by a force he couldn't name, a thought slammed into his mind, sharp and urgent. A voice that was not his own yet originated from deep within him. Save her. Save your sister. His eyes darted to the small, serious boy Murphy who was staring at him, his gaze intense, pleading. Ignoring Yanni's protests, Sean knelt beside Vivian. The woman's face, etched with terror, was achingly familiar. It was her. The woman from that night. The fragmented memories coalesced with dizzying certainty. He saw the child's blue-tinged lips, felt the terrifying lack of a pulse against his fingers, and his world narrowed to a single point of focus. Someone call an ambulance. Now, he roared, gathering Nina's limp form into his arms. Clear a path. Later that day, the sterile scent of the hospital still clinging to him, Sean sat in his office, the earlier chaos replaying in his mind. He had felt a gut-wrenching certainty in that lobby. His assistant entered, holding a tablet. Sir, the preliminary report from the lab just came in. The one you expedited for the little girl. Nina. Sean leaned forward. And the results are negative. There's no match. She is not your daughter. The words were a punch to the gut. Disappointment, sharp and bitter, flooded him. It made no sense. He had felt it, a connection so deep it defied logic. Observing his reaction from the doorway, Yanni saw her opening. She entered softly, her face a mask of gentle sympathy. Sean, she began, her voice a soft murmur. I know how confusing this must be. Maybe you've been looking for the wrong person all this time. He looked up, his gaze cold. What are you talking about, Yanni? She reached into her purse and pulled out a small, silken pouch. From it, she produced a string of sandalwood prayer beads, the scent faint but distinct. Do you remember these? She asked, her eyes welling with manufactured tears. That night 5 years ago. It was me. Sean, you gave me these before you left. I was too scared to tell you. But when I saw that woman today, trying to use her children to deceive you, I knew I had to. Sean stared at the beads. He remembered them. He remembered giving them to a woman whose face he couldn't recall, but whose presence had haunted him for years. Everything Yanni said lined up with the facts: the DNA test, the beads. Yet, looking at her, he felt nothing. No spark of recognition, no echo of connection. Only a deep, inexplicable wave of annoyance. His gut screamed that this was a lie. Her, as my granddaughter-in-law. Grandma Fuller's voice cut through the tension. She stood in the doorway, her expression one of utter disgust. Don't be ridiculous. That woman has the heart of a viper. I want my adorable great-grandchild. The one with my Sean's eyes, Not this conniving impostor. The polished marble floor of the fuller group lobby gleamed under the recessed lighting, reflecting the drama unfolding like a distorted mirror. Yanni, a voice of venomous whisper, had Vivian cornered near the security turnstiles. You really think you can just waltz in here and take what's mine? Before Vivian could form a reply, a small, clear voice cut through the tension. What belongs to you? Nothing here does. All heads turned. Standing at the grand entrance was Johnny, his small frame radiating an impossible amount of confidence. Dressed in a miniature tailored blazer, he looked like a tiny CEO ready for a hostile takeover. He strode forward, his gaze locked on Yanni. Yanni scoffed, a brittle, ugly sound. And who is this? Another one of your street urchins, Vivian. She bent down, her smile a cruel slash of red lipstick. Go home, little boy, this is a place for adults. Johnny didn't flinch. He simply smiled, a serene and knowing expression that was unnerving on a child's face. I'm not just a little boy, he announced, his voice echoing slightly in the cavernous space. I'm the precious gift heaven sent to Mr. Fuller, and to you. His eyes narrowed. I'm your karma. Infuriated, Yanni lunged, intending to grab his arm, but as her hand drew near, she stumbled back as if hitting an invisible wall, her expensive heels skidding on the marble. She gasped, righting herself with a look of pure confusion. Just then, the automatic doors hissed open again, revealing the elegant, formidable figure of Grandma Fuller. Her sharp eyes scanned the scene, landing on Johnny. Her breath hitched. The stern lines of her face softened, melting away into disbelief and then dawning joy. It's him, she whispered, her voice trembling as she rushed forward, bypassing security. He has Sean's eyes. He looks exactly like Sean did at that age, at that precise moment. Across the lobby, Sean Fuller's phone buzzed. He glanced down, annoyed by the interruption. An email with a single attachment. A PDF from the genetics lab. His thumb hovered over it, a strange sense of dread and anticipation coiling in his gut. He opened it. The polished marble floors of the Fuller Group lobby gleamed like a frozen lake, vast and intimidating to the three small figures huddled near a potted ficus. Murphy, clutching a thermal lunch bag, took his role as mission commander seriously. Okay, he whispered, his voice a tiny echo in the cavernous space. Security desk is the dragon's lair. We need to get to the elevators without being seen. Kathy, you stick with me. Nina. Don't wander. Nina, her small face pale with a familiar weariness, nodded and clutched her brother's jacket. Kathy, however, bounced on the balls of her feet, her pigtails swaying with restless energy. This is like a spy movie. Their target was the 32nd floor, where their mother was enduring another day of what they knew were hardships. Their goal was simple: deliver a hot lunch, a small act of love in a world that felt increasingly cold. As Murphy plotted a course behind a group of distracted executives, a sharp, clicking sound approached the staccato rhythm of expensive heels on marble. Yanni stopped dead, her perfectly painted lips tightening into a thin line. She recognized the boy instantly. The defiant set of his jaw, the intelligent eyes, it was Vivian's face, miniaturized. You, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. What are you doing here? Did your mother send you to beg? Murphy stepped in front of his sisters, his small frame radiating a protective energy that belied his age. We brought our mum lunch. It's none of your business. Yanni's eyes narrowed, then widened as she took in the other two children. Twins. Vivian had twins and another, sickly-looking child. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. This wasn't just about one inconvenient child who could be dismissed as a coincidence. This was a family, a ready-made family posed to usurp everything Yanni had schemed for. A cold fury, sharp and venomous, called in her gut. She won't take everything from me. Yianni vowed silently, the thought a shard of ice in her mind. Not again, not her, and not her pathetic brood. Security. Yianni's voice was a shriek, cutting through the lobby's professional hum. There are children wandering around unattended. Get them out of here. The sudden chaos was terrifying. 2 uniformed guards descended, their faces stern. Kathy, spooked by the shouting and the imposing figures, did the only thing her panicked mind could think of. She ran. She darted away from the guards, away from Yianni's rage, and slipped through a closing elevator door just as its silver panels sealed shut. Kathy, Murphy cried out, his voice cracking with fear. The commotion reached the design department just as Vivian was returning from a fruitless meeting. She heard Yianni's shrill voice and the distressed cries of her children, and her blood ran cold. She sprinted toward the lobby, her heart hammering against her ribs. She found Murphy trying to shield a trembling Nina from the guards, his small face a mask of terror and defiance. "What is going on?" Vivian demanded, pulling her children into her arms. "Murphy. Nina, where's Kathy?" Murphy's face crumpled. She got scared. She ran into an elevator. Panic, stark and absolute, seized Vivian. Her daughter was lost somewhere in this corporate labyrinth. "Kathy!" she screamed, her voice raw with desperation as she scanned a bank of elevators, each silent, illuminated number a mockery of her terror. "This is precisely why people like you don't belong here," Yianni sneered, stepping forward. "You can't even control your own children. How do you expect to?" "That's enough, Yianni," the voice, calm and deadly, sliced through the tension. Sean Fuller stood at the edge of the scene, flanked by his grandmother and two stone-faced security executives. His gaze was fixed on Yianni, and it held no warmth, no trace of the affection she had so desperately tried to cultivate. It was the look of a judge about to pass sentence. "Sean, thank goodness," Yianni began, a tone shifting to one of a concerned victim. "This woman's children are running wild, and she's causing a scene. One of them is missing." "I know," Sean cut her off. "My head of security is already reviewing the footage. We'll find her." He took a step forward, his attention never wavering from Yianni. He held up a file folder. "What I'm more interested in is this. Your proof." A nervous tremor ran through Yianni. My DNA results. They prove that Murphy is your son. They prove you paid a lab technician in Scottsdale a substantial sum of money," Sean said, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous growl that carried across the now silent lobby. Employees froze at their desks, turning to watch the drama unfold. "My team was much more thorough. They secured the original sample from the lab's archives. It seems Murphy's DNA is a perfect match for me. But yours, Yianni, there's not a single link. It was all a lie." The color drained from Yianni's face. "No. You're mistaken. It's her. Vivian is the one lying." Sean shook his head slowly, a look of profound disappointment in his eyes. "You know, for a while, I almost believed my memory was failing me. But the more I looked at her," he gestured toward Vivian, "the more it came back. I remember that night. I remember her kindness, her scent, the way her hair felt." He finally turned his gaze fully on Vivian, and in his eyes, she saw not just recognition, but a deep, lingering regret. "I remember you, Vivian. I've been looking for you for 5 years." The world tilted on its axis. All this time, she had held on to the memory of that night as a mistake, a shameful secret, a moment of weakness that had defined her life. But for him, it wasn't the forgotten blur. He remembered. He had been looking for her. The defensive wall she had built around her heart began to crumble, brick by painful brick. Tears welled in high stares of shock, of vindication, and of a fragile, terrifying hope. "You're fired, Yianni," Sean stated, his voice ringing with finality. He turned to the guards. Please escort Ms. Tang off the premises. Her access has been revoked. An internal memo regarding design fraud and corporate espionage will be circulated within the hour. As the guards took a stunned and sputtering Yanni by the arms, Grandma Fuller stepped forward, her expression fierce and triumphant. She pulled Murphy and Nina into a warm, protective embrace. There, my darlings. It's all over now. Sean walked over to Vivian, his presence a solid wall of strength in her swirling chaos. He gently placed a hand on her arm, his touch sending a jolt through her. We will find Kathy, he said, his voice soft but certain, and then, we are going to fix everything. He looked from Vivian to Nina, his eyes softening with a paternal concern that made Vivian's breath catch. Nina's surgery will be scheduled tomorrow. I will cover everything. You and the children will want for nothing. I promise. Murphy looked up, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and relief. He had done it. His crazy, impossible plan had worked. Their father was here. Just then, Sean's phone buzzed. He answered, listened for a moment, and a wave of relief washed over his face. They found her, he said to Vivian, his voice thick with emotion. She's on the executive floor. She told security she was looking for the king's office. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, a real, genuine laugh escaped Vivian's lips, mingling with her tears. Their family, fractured and scattered only moments before, was finally, impossibly, coming together.